Welcome, everybody. This is our 8th meeting of the New Earth Visioning Project. We did it, right? 4 months. And I think we've accomplished quite a bit with our presentations done by so many of you great guys. We're pleased to welcome a couple of you who are here for the first time. Welcome. We hope you enjoy our presentation and come back. Please visit our website, newearthvisioningproject.com, where you'll find all the videos we've done, all the presentations, and lots of resources. Just peruse the website and you'll find lots of goodies in there. We're dedicated, for those who are new, we're dedicated to bringing about the new earth through our envisioning, and especially through bringing ourselves into alignment with the vision of a new earth, primarily through raising our vibrations. So today we will be talking again, we've talked about it once, a little bit more about raising our vibrations. I'm pleased to be joined in this presentation with a close friend of mine, Mary Nelson, who is joining us tonight from Steamboat, Colorado. And I just came back from her neighborhood, general neighborhood. I went there for a few days to spend with her in Yellowstone National Park. Wow, what a gorgeous place. And we spent a number of days working on this presentation for you guys today. Mary, a lot of you, if you don't know her, is a licensed life and spiritual coach with an undergraduate degree in psychology and a master's in adult education. During her career as a consultant with Fortune 500 clients, Mary has trained managers and executives in communication skills. As a life and spiritual coach, Mary works with people who want to know more about a spiritual journey or expand the one they are on now. She works through fun and interactive workshops and private sessions. Mary is also an award-winning speaker and writer and author of the award-winning book, The Name Game. Mary, would you like to say something?
Just thank you and hello. And Janice, thank you so much for inviting me to participate in this very, very important workshop or seminar or program on raising our vibrations. It's just so vital right now. Thank you.
Yes, and we've done one presentation on raising our vibrations, and we hope to bring you some brand new insights about this and things to consider. It's such an important thing, especially in the time, as Mary said, especially in the time we're in now. So just to review a little bit about just to remind you of what we said in our first presentation about this, and for those of you who are new, we'll say a little bit about vibration itself. Here's the thing, the higher our vibration, the more creativity and insights we have. The higher our vibration, the more influence we have. The more we're aligned with the benevolence of the universe, the guidance of Source, and the more and more we live in love and joy. The presentation Mary and I will give today focuses on how we raise our vibrations and how we keep them high. And we hope to give you, again, a whole lot to work on. So first, let's briefly summarize the information we were given the last time we had this presentation. First, what is vibration? Vibration is also known scientifically as frequency or resonance. And what that is simply, very simple. It's the rate of spin of a particle or beam, electricity, or any movement. Everything in the cosmos, everything in creation has a vibration of some kind. The higher the rate of spin or oscillation, the more powerful the energy and more expanded the reach. You can think of throwing a little pebble in the water. There's a little whirlpool going kind of slow. You throw a bowling ball in, there's a huge avalanche spinning very, very fast with a lot of reach. So the higher then we are in our vibration, the also more expanded is our consciousness. The higher we are in vibration, the more we experience true power. Because anything of a lower vibration or spin cannot sustain its frequency without applying a lot of effort, because it's working up against a higher vibrating presence. And so the lower vibrations have a disability because they're not into power. They have to exert a lot of effort and force to bring about what they want. This is very important to understand, because the difference between lower vibrations and the higher vibrations is very extreme. In the lower vibrations, when you have to use force, for example, we attempt to change the effects or get something in the physical world. We change the effects, not the causes. With power and high vibration, we eliminate the cause itself. And we don't even have to deal with the effects of it. And it's done effortlessly and simply. So what force does and lower vibration has to do, they use war, law, violence, regulations, intimidating others, and all that kind of thing to get what they want. In the higher vibrations, there is no effort really. Things happen because of we eliminate causes, and then things happen. With force, we need energy and effort. With high vibration, only our intent is needed in the very high vibrations. Force, low vibrations, things are experienced by the five senses. In higher vibration, things are experienced by our inner awareness. And that's how we accomplish things as well. With force or low vibrations, facts are accumulated with effort. And we can see this. We're really trying to find out why and what and all of that. With power and high vibrations, the truth is just revealed. It just appears to us. So, low vibration, force, effort, high vibrations, automatic, it just is. Let's talk about how we raise our vibrations. We'll look again at this chart we looked at before, and what I've done is add a few things so that we aren't looking at three charts here. This is a chart done by Dr. Hawkins, the author of Power versus Force. And as you see, you've got the name of the level of vibration, the frequency. These are just arbitrary numbers to help us understand the movement from low to high. The real vibrations are long equations. They're just they increase exponentially. It's algorithmic. The difference between, say, 30 and 50 is extreme. But anyway, we have the frequency designations, we have the associated emotional state, and then the view of life. What then causes our vibrations? What causes our vibrations, according to Dr. Hawkins, and he studied this for his whole life, is our emotions. They are what is sent out from us in our emotions. And as you can see, for example, let's go to fear, about the fifth one up, fear. The emotion is anxiety in his thing. And look on the right, it's one of the negative emotions. And all the emotions under the green line, they're going across the slide, they are negative and they are contracting. They contract our consciousness, contract our vitality, contract our life force. All of these emotions, if you look on the left, are also motivated by fear. And again, you have to use force and effort. So let's look again at fear. There at number 100. The view of life is that life is frightening. This is what causes the emotion of anxiety. So what causes our emotions is what we think and believe. Our thoughts and our beliefs are what causes the emotions. So since emotions are what we put out as vibration, and that's caused by our thoughts and beliefs, what we need to do is work on our thoughts and beliefs to raise our vibration. Kind of makes sense, right? And notice one more thing here. Courage in the yellow, the top yellow one, is just above the green line. Dr. Hawkins says this is the test. To step into courage is the transformational step, the most important one. Because once you get into courage, once you get at that level, you're in the positive realm. It's the first step into the positive. He says it's the only emotion. It's where it starts, where the emotion gives out as much energy as it takes back, unlike the negative ones. It's why they're called negative. They take energy rather than give energy. And as we go up the scale here to the higher and higher vibrating energies, the more we give out, the more power we have, the more we're in peace, the more we're in love, the more we're motivated by love, until we get to the point where we are in incredible unconditional love. And with that, knowledge and joy and wisdom and everything that goes along with that. Mary, would you like to say something?
Yeah, as Janice said, our thoughts cause our emotions. So the way we raise our vibrations is to become aware of our thoughts. And Hawkins says in his book, Letting Go, surrender every thought. Now that's a big order. All of us are thinking all day long, but that's the final goal. And in order to get there, we have to do some things first and understand that inside all of us, every single one of us, there are thoughts and beliefs that are buried. Some are buried consciously, others unconsciously absorbed from people, situations, or events that have gone on all of our lives. So in order to change our beliefs and our thoughts, we need to find courage. And that is the first level in the positive. And that is courage to look at ourselves. And the truth is that spirit lives inside of us. It is the life that's inside of us. And let me just say this about that. I call it spirit, I call it God. It's just the easiest thing for me. You call it whatever, energy, consciousness, source, whatever you like. But spirit is always in perfect vibration. And the reason we aren't is that we have accumulated loads of thoughts and beliefs that block the expression of the highest vibration that is inside of us. Janice?
Okay. How to change our thoughts and beliefs. First, let's understand a few basics here. First of all, negative thoughts and beliefs block vitality, expansion, and creativity. We just spoke about that. Negative thoughts and beliefs do not align with the amazing benevolence and wisdom of creation. Negative emotions derive again from thoughts and beliefs that are not the truth, therefore. So negative thoughts and beliefs, being not the truth or not aligned with the truth, need constant reinforcement and repetition, effort and force to sustain themselves. When we get into a negative, something happens and we get into a negative frenzy, or we have a judgment of something, we're repeating it over and over. Our minds are looking for evidence to justify our belief, and then we go back and repeat it over and over again. We do this. So let's take an example. This is an example we all can understand, and we probably have experienced. Let's say that you are in a romantic relationship, and what you think of as a committed romantic relationship. And you're sitting in your home, you're waiting for your partner to get home from work, you put on some music, you're sitting down reading a book, you're in a really great mood. Then you get a phone call, and a friend of yours says your partner, they just saw your partner sitting and drinking wine with another person and hugging and kissing and things like that. You hang up and you go from the high vibration of being at peace to immediately your mind goes crazy, starts to be in fear, anxiety, anger, all of these things. You start to make affirmations about the person, your partner, and all these things are going around and around and around, and lower and lower and lower in vibration. You've got to the point where you're in extreme victim mode and you're in fight and flight. You're so fearful and anxious. And though a lion isn't roaring at you, you're still in that same room, you still have the beautiful music on. Your nervous system is acting like a lion is running after you. You're basically into fight and flight. And you're starting to call your partner all kinds of names and making characterizations. And we'll just take just one possibility. Your mind might say, he or she, so-and-so is worthless, absolutely worthless. And you look for things in the past, little things that to your mind prove that this is the truth. But is it the truth? I worked with this kind of thing for years, trying to get rid of judgments. And I went to a book by Byron Katie called Loving What Is, 4 Questions That Can Change Your Life. And it's brilliantly simple. What you do is you start to doubt your beliefs just by asking questions. The first thing you ask is, here's the affirmation, so-and-so is worthless. The first question, do I absolutely know this is true? Now, let's say you're so angry. Yes, it's true. Of course it's working. He did blah, blah, blah. She did. So stop and you ask the second question. And of the 4 questions, this is a genius question. What would I be without this belief? Now, if you've stepped enough into courage to ask that question, you have already raised your vibration significantly just by asking the question. And I've watched a lot of videos of Byron Katie working with people with these questions. And when they answer that one, what would I be without this belief? They almost always say, I'd be more at peace. Just by imagining being more at peace, your vibration goes up even more because peace is a very high vibration. So to answer the question, what would I be? What you would be is in a very much higher vibration. And in that higher vibration, you can be more logical. You can be more realistic. You can come into maybe more unconditional regard for this person. So you might start to think of other possibilities in this. And are you really a victim? You can start to ask those questions. And all of this brings you into a higher vibrational focus. You're out of fight and flight. So maybe you might change your feeling about this. Let's call this person a spontaneously adventurous person, right? You might change some of your ideas. What we're questioning here also is, because you're so discontent, you're obviously out of alignment with some truth about the person or about even the situation. And all of our negative emotions are feel bad because they are out of alignment with the truth of creation. So what is the truth? The truth of creation, it's vibrantly life affirming. You can look around and see this. Life flourishes. Go into nature, the woods, the stars in the sky, they're over and over being created. Life wants to live and it wants to affirm life. You can see that all over. Infinitely abundant and prosperous. Look at all the new things being created. Look at the new stars in the sky. Look at everything. It's prosperous. Left alone to its own devices is incredibly prosperous. This is the cosmos, prosperous. We live in a field, this is science, we live in a field of all potentiality, all potential. And every potential wants to be manifest. That's how prosperous we are. Benevolent and creative. Look, creative. Oh my goodness, look at all the shapes, look at all the colors, look at all the adaptations that are done. Very creative things have happened. If you just look at evolution of some of the animals, very creative and adaptive. Benevolent. Nature supports us. The cosmos supports us so well. Look at your own body. What a miracle it is, and how it tries to stay in service to you no matter what. Again, life wants to live. Exuberantly expressive. That is obvious. Look at children playing. Look at the birds. Look at and animals. Look at how the wind is. Look at everything expressive. We all want to express. Seeks harmony and balance. If we leave nature alone, and we'll go back to harmony and balance. And that's what it seeks to do all the time. If you just look, you will see this. There's symbiosis between the species and all of that kind of thing. Look at the planets going around the sun. Look at the Milky Way and everything very orderly going around the center. Nature and the cosmos seeks harmony and balance, seeks perfection and beauty and form. That's obvious. That's very obviously, and that's obvious if you look at evolution too. And here's the important thing we need to remember. What is true of creation is true of us. Every one of us in our essence have these qualities because we are part of creation. And this is our story. So, to what degree is our statement, so and so is worthless? To what degree does that have any relationship to the truth, the real truth? Any at all, really? One day, when we go up and up the ladder of vibration and become very high vibrational people, we will come into real love, unconditional love. Why? Because we will expand, we will understand the purpose of creation. We will understand how it works. We will understand how people walk the course and why the adventure happens and what it does. We will see the perfection when we get very high. We will see the perfection, the utter perfection of creation in time and outside of time. And then let's meet again, as Rumi says. Mary.
Let's take a look at who we are. I call it the triune us, this three-part person we are. The mind. It is the intellect, the will, and the emotions. It relates and reacts to others and outside stimuli. The spirit relates to the whole, and it does not react. The body relates and reacts to the physical realm. So Parker Palmer, in his book, Courage to Teach, he was one of my teachers, we cannot see what is out there merely by looking around. Everything depends on the lenses through which we view the world. And the mind is the lens through which we view the world. Just look at the mind. This is what the mind believes its role to be, but it's not really that. But anyway, we're stuck in this. The mind processes and interprets. It assigns meaning to events, people, attitudes, behavior, and it has been assigning meaning all of our lives. The mind also does not discriminate where it gets fed. It will take any information from anywhere and work with it. And this is a great time to interject that the mind grabs thoughts that float by. Think about this. There is nothing new under the sun. So every thought we have, somebody else has already had that thought. So there it is in the form of energy, a thought energy floating by, and we might just grab it. So the mind will do that to us. But mind, lastly, triggers emotions, meaning perception controls our feelings. If we believe we're in danger, we feel fear. If we believe we are loved, we feel joy. Feelings are always attached to perceptions, which come from mostly from experiences we have already had and beliefs that we already possess. So let's look at this a little more deeply. Think about all the input that comes from the outside into the mind. Think of yourself as a toddler all the way up to wherever you are now. Events that have gone on in your lives, the culture you're in, or especially that you grew up in, your parents. Huge, and no parent is perfect. Can you believe that? And so we have to deal with all the thoughts and all the feelings and all the beliefs we got from our parents, from our friends, from teachers, leaders. Finances give us thoughts and beliefs. Think about this. Think about your position in the family. If you're the oldest child or you're the baby, it's a whole different universe. And heaven forbid if you're the middle child. Think about it if you're the only child. The size town you grew up in. Did you grow up country or did you grow up city? Completely different perspectives on the world. Did you have religion in your life when you were growing up? That will set a lot of beliefs. Did you make the team when you were in high school? Did you fail a class? Think about what you might think about yourself or the wounds you might feel from failing that. Your health plays a factor, the kind of work you're involved in. So all of this has been going on all of our lives. And what we have to do is we have to dig deep and courage to find the unconscious thoughts and beliefs. And we need to take a look at the conscious thoughts and beliefs that we possess now. They may not apply anymore. So all of these conscious and unconscious thoughts and beliefs impact our emotions, and usually most of them were adopted in our childhood when we were developing our perceptions of life. So we usually don't realize that our childhood set our vibrational level, and unless we consciously choose to change it, we stay there. And the reason I say this is that I suffered a lot of really deep depression as a younger adult, and I could not figure out why. So I'd look at my life, I'd blame my circumstances, I'd fix the situation, I'd be okay for a little bit, but then the depression would come back. And it did that over and over, but only when I began to openly and passionately search inside did I begin to see and remember very painful buried childhood events. And they were the source of my thoughts and beliefs about myself and about my view of life. One incident, let me share with you, when I was 4, made me feel, it was so traumatic, it made me feel I should not be alive, and I found no justification for my life. And I even told a friend when I was in my late 40s, I don't know what it is, but I feel like I shouldn't be alive. I was unconsciously emitting the vibration of shame, guilt, and hopelessness from something that had happened 40 years previously. but it was buried in there and it was creating me on a very low vibrating level. So what I'm saying by that is I'm not alone in this. All of us have some unconscious thoughts and beliefs that contribute to lowering our vibrations now that came from the past. And we need to find them and release them. And let me just say that takes the first level on the positive vibration, courage to do that. So what I did then was I dug them up. I was willing to look at it. I felt the pain. I released the false perceptions. My negative thoughts and feelings went away, and it changed my vibration, and my vibration changed my view of life. Janice.
Yes, I'd like to just comment that isn't it interesting that the people, so many of the people that are doing this work we're doing have had traumatic childhoods. It's just like 90% or more. And so this is a really important topic. I know I had a very traumatic childhood. I would ask God to take me home. I didn't want to be here. And I went through a period of time, kind of like Mary did, in that I wanted to uncover some things. And I happened to open the book, another book by David R. Hawkins called Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender. And he has a way of going inside and looking at what the thoughts are. What triggered me, pun intended, what triggered me to do this was triggers, right? I realized that somebody would trigger me, and the reaction was so much stronger than the input of the trigger. And I thought, this is weird. And I started reading, and I came across his book, Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender, and I used it to great effect. This subject is so important for us to increase and stabilize ourselves at a higher vibration. It deserves more attention. And so on October the 19th, Mike Perez and Mary Histine and Mike Perez, I got my Marys mixed up, sorry. We'll have a whole presentation based on this particular thing, our emotions, our past traumas and everything, and based on Mary's work as a professional and Mike as a long-term experiencer of this, or both of them. And so don't miss that. It's such an important topic. So thank you. Mary?
Okay, thank you. So what we're both saying is if we don't face them, these buried unconscious things or even conscious thoughts that we're having that aren't appropriate for us, they keep our vibration low, or at the very least, they keep us dipping into a lower vibration. An awesome fact. When we change even one low thought, we automatically raise our vibration. Now, some people deny or they don't see that they have any misguided or unconscious perceptions. Trust me, we all do to varying degrees. It's how we learned about life. And the first step is to release so we can stop thinking and feeling bad about ourselves or our lives, so we can stop reacting in defensive ways or stop having bouts of shame or anger. All of those are very low vibration. All lower vibrations were planted in us from something outside. They are not the truth. We are the fullness of God in an expression. We were not created to be low vibe, because we are not just the expression of God or the universe, but we are the fullness of God in an expression. So once we clear those negative energies that are blocking the higher ones, it becomes more and more effortless to raise our vibrations. Let's do a little exercise here. Think of a situation that you are struggling with. Write down a situation you're struggling with. I'll give you a second to do that. And now get in your body and really feel it. What are the feelings that you're having there? There are probably a few different ones. There are probably some really intense ones, but what are the feelings in there? And then you want to ask yourself, how old do I feel? Because whatever it is you're struggling with, it's probably not a feeling that is on the adult level that you are on currently, or how you would like to handle that stressful situation. So how old we feel may be an indication of when the feeling arose. Our minds are the sum of what we have seen, heard, experienced, and learned in our lives, and our feelings are the reactions to it. Let's look now at the different cultures in which we live. As members of society, most of us see only what we expect to see. And what we expect to see is what we are conditioned to see when we have learned the definitions and classifications of our culture. In other words, the paradigms in which we live are not facts. They are belief systems. So let's look at some samples of these. Let's take this one. If all of the family gathers together for a special meal once a year, it could be interpreted as a required event or as a belief that good families get together once a year for a special meal. If it doesn't happen, you can feel mildly stressed or you can feel really stressed, depending on your mind and how it's saying something's wrong here, we're not getting together. Another scenario, what if you grew up in a community where work is survival? You could believe that if you don't work for it, you won't and you can't get it. Or you could believe that people who don't work as hard as you feel like you work are privileged people. Or you may feel like a victim of life. We can change all of those perceptions. Another simple one. Your parents are polite and they dress up because Mr. Jones is coming over for dinner. Your little mind might judge him to be a very important person, or your mind could tell you when people come to visit, you need to dress up. So you can see how we create all these beliefs that we have based on simple situations. So right now, our culture is telling us all kinds of crazy things, and we have to watch what the mind is doing, because the mind, in every single one, no matter what you see or believe, it is reacting intensely right now. So what we need to do is get inside and ask the spirit, the energy, God that lives inside us, what is the truth here? So I'd like you to write down one thing, a belief that you have or have had or whatever that may not suit you now. Something that you're going, oh, you know, I really could let go of that one. All right, here are just a couple of facts about the world. The world is just a three-dimensional reflection of what's going on inside of our minds. And the world is a very accurate, symbolic representation of our belief systems. So changing our thoughts and beliefs can change the world for us individually and for the world collectively. So think about that. Changing our thoughts, raising our vibrations, that's pretty important with all that's going on right now. Janice.
All of this sounds like work, but hey, here's good news, really good news. And bringing our vibrations up and working to bring our vibrations up, the universe and the nature of the universe, or God, or whatever you want to call it, has our back. We already talked about the truth of creation. And when we come into alignment with that, and we start coming into more alignment with that, we have the whole creation backing us up. We're coming into alignment. Once we cross that threshold of courage, this is the biggest step according to Dr. Hawkins, and he should know. He's a psychiatrist and worked on this for decades and decades before he even wrote a word about it. The universe has our back. And remember, the universe is life-affirming, benevolent, creative, prosperous, harmonious. We have a huge thing helping us here. Remember also, the truth needs no effort. It just is. The truth helps us feel better. If we're in alignment with truth, we feel better. If we're not in alignment with the truth, that's where we have discomfort. We're contracted and everything else. So, knowing these two things brings us courage. We can take that step just by knowing these things and experimenting with them a little bit. This helps us step over that boundary into the positive. Mary.
Yeah, I just want to share with you an experience of courage that really changed my life. I was terrified, absolutely terrified of public speaking. A lot of us are, but terrified is a very low vibration. So I went with a friend to a Toastmasters meeting, and that's a group where you learn to speak in public. I looked at the speakers. I watched them get up and give impromptu talks. I watched the ease with which they did all that. I looked at them in awe, and then I looked at my friend and I said, no way in H am I ever doing that. And I walked away. It took me 2 years to go back. I had courage. I gathered the courage, a higher vibration, to go back. And what happened is I won every single speech I ever gave, even at the state level. So once I found the courage, I found higher vibrations, willingness, joy, and love of what I found out I could do. And you know, they say a lot of times our greatest talents are hidden behind our biggest fears. So this step of courage changed my life, changed my career, and changed my self-image. So I can't applaud courage enough. Janice.
Well, so you can see by Mary's story how much the universe, the nature of creation has your back once you step into courage, and everything else happens. It's just amazing what happens when you raise your vibration and stabilize your vibration at a higher rate. Things just happen. There's synchronicity. There's benevolence. Things come to you. It's totally worth our effort to raise our vibrations, stabilize them at a higher level. And not only does it do wonders for us, it does incredible wonders for those around us and the world at large. Let's look into raising our vibrations by mastering the mind. Okay, so Dr. Hawkins says, release all thoughts to God, all thoughts to God. He did this, by the way. He worked on it. He actually did it. And amazing things happened. He actually went and came into an awakening experience. But that's a tall order, as Mary previously said. So we can start a smaller step here. We can start to doubt our thoughts. Just doubt them. Use the question, is this really true? Just, wait a minute, is that completely, how do you feel? Are you feeling good, or are you feeling, a little bit contracted? Ask for alternatives. What's the alternative that I'm going to die, or there's going to be a catastrophe? What's the catastrophe? What is the alternative? Are there any other possibilities here? Any other perceptions and ways to look at it? Remember, we live in a field of the all potential. So if we ask, since we live in the all potential, if we ask, and truly, sincerely ask, we will get the answers, and more than we can probably even assimilate in with our minds. Let's do a little writing exercise. The problem concerning me right now is just write down the problem, or a concern of yours, or an issue you have. What is it? Just write it down. Now write down the thoughts you're repeating over and over about it, the consequences, or something that you find yourself repeating over and over. Maybe a fear you have. I'm sure you know what they are, because the mind does this. It repeats it over and over. It has to repeat it, remember. It's not aligned with truth, so it has to be repeated to continue, to sustain. So I'm sure you know this repetition. So what are you repeating over and over? Just acknowledge it, just see this. And when you see the repetition, you know there's effort and repetition. Must not be the truth. Yeah, definitely lower vibrations, because that's the way it acts. It has to repeat and repeat. It uses effort and repetition to sustain itself. Now think of a different perspective, a different alternative, a different result, and write that down. Again, you have infinity of potential here and possibilities. So let one of them come into your mind. What else is possible here? Are we finished? It's another 15 seconds or so. I know a couple of you are writing. You might come up with a whole lot of other possibilities. That's great, because the truth is there are. And see if you can get to the one that makes you feel better. And realize that's possible too. In God's creation, anything is possible. So here's another one to raise our vibrations, a couple of other more ideas to raise our vibrations by mastering the mind. Remember, just keep this in mind, the mind is a computer. And let's start using it for its useful purposes and not for what it's really not designed to do. So what does it do good? Well, it stores information. It stores practical things. It cannot interpret. It's not good at that. The facts only, ask the mind, facts only, ma'am. It's not good at almost anything else. And remember, the mind is your servant. You are not its slave, although many of us have lived that way as the slave of the mind, or maybe a little part of us are already living, still living that way. But we are the natural masters of the mind. And once we start understanding this and using our mastery to direct the mind instead of it directing us, then confidence will build. You'll go into much higher vibration. You will use this great servant, this great computer is what it is, for what it's useful at. And it's useful for a number of things that can really help us. But we need to become the master of the mind, not its slave. So let's do a little exercise here. And this is, as some of you who were in my previous classes, we did that before, but let's do it for everybody now. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Now ask the mind to bring you a thought to consider. Come on, mind. Give me a thought to consider. Come on. You can do it. A thought to consider. Just one. Come on. You can do it. Okay, open your mind. Open your eyes. How many of you had a thought? Nobody, just one. Usually the mind, you might have found the mind to sort of hesitate a little bit. What should I do? The pack leader just appeared and I'm not sure what to do about it, type of thing. Many people that have done this exercise, they can't get any thought. The mind goes blank, right? Why? Because the master it's not used to has shown up, right? That's not what the mind is used to, being directed, right? So it can go blank or get a little bit confused in the middle, or a hesitation. You can feel something like that. Another one, and this next exercise really helped me in a time when I was just going crazy with my mind. My business that I owned was being erroneously sued. My husband was in deep depression. I was taking care of the house. I was the sole breadwinner, and I had 4 stepdaughters. Okay. My mind went round and round and round with fear and worry and all of the things. So much so that I couldn't sleep. I prayed one night, I do not want to live one more second if I have to live with this mind. I asked the universe for help. I went in a bookstore, and this was a frequent thing in my life. I go to a bookstore, I'd absentmindedly walk to a book, open it up, and there was an answer. I went to the store, I opened up a book by Tony Robbins called something about Awaken the Giant, something like that title. And I opened up to this exercise. You take a belief, a fearful belief, right? Or a negative belief about yourself. And what my problems were, what they boiled down to is the fact that I'm a total failure. I blamed myself for the business. I blamed myself for all things. I said, I'm a failure. So what he said was take that affirmation, take that belief, that negative belief, and make the mind say it really slowly. I am a failure. And you say it again. I am a failure. You say it a number of times until you actually start laughing. Laughter is high vibration, by the way. Then he said, make the mind do what it is good at, be a monkey, right? So you're supposed to say that then real fast. I'm a failure, I'm a failure, I'm a failure, I'm a failure. Jump around and dance. I'm a failure, I'm a failure, failure. And then you start laughing again. Again, it's funny. Laughter raises the vibration. It works. Try it. Both of those. Ask the mind for something. But it shows you that the mind will do what the natural master demands of it. Boss it around. Do it in a funny way. You will see, if you watch the mind, that it will start to feel relieved, that it does no longer have to do everything. You've got the whole world, you've got the whole library of infinite knowledge available to the essence of what we are. If we start to use the mind for what it's meant for, we can master anything. Okay, Mary.
Let's look at what it would be living from the Spirit. So the Spirit relates to the whole, feeds the mind, and actually heals the body. So a Spirit-fed mind relates and reacts to the Spirit to interact with others, events, and situations outside of us. And then the Spirit-fed mind fuels the body by giving it healthy thoughts, feelings, and behavior. Living from Spirit is high vibration. God, Spirit, the universe is the place of truth, peace, unconditional love, and the big picture of life. In Spirit, high vibration living, we let go and possess what we already have. I have to repeat that. We let go of everything else and we possess, we live from the inside out and use and possess what we already have. Inside of us, Spirit is free of systems, opinions, competition, judgment, personal identity. It's not about me anymore. And it's free of any human limitations. When we live from the inside out, we relate to external things. We don't react. We can observe it and look. We don't live from ego. The mind is the ego. It's all about me. We begin to feel beliefs and live from our gut, which living from a gut is using your intuition. Intuition is receiving input and ideas without knowing exactly how or where they came from. They just are there. Albert Einstein said, the intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind, a faithful servant. Janice just talked about that. Albert Einstein went on to say, we have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. There are so many ways to develop our intuition, but remember, you can't force it. It evolves with practice. Another way to tell if it's coming from the mind or coming from the gut or your intuition is to compare feelings. The mind is objective. Intuition is subjective. The mind, judgmental. Intuition or guidance, impartial. The mind has things that it needs that are provable. The intuition is not provable. It's something we experience. Remember, we don't know where it came from. The mind is active. It figures out. The spirit, the intuition is passive. It just happens. The mind plots and plans. The intuition, the guidance is just that spontaneous aha. Isn't that awesome when that happens? If we could only live there all of the time. The mind can be confused. Well, I don't know if this is right. Maybe we should do, maybe, intuition, guidance, it is very clear. The mind justifies. Well, if I do this, then that, or whatever. Guidance, intuition is certain. The mind comes from the head. Intuition comes from the heart. Janice.
So, in order to know whether you're listening to the still small voice, which is guidance and intuition, as many people call it, or the conditioned, programmed mind, not generally aligned with truth versus intuition and guidance was always truth. You become aware of how you feel. Not judging how you feel, but aware. Is it negative? Is it contracted? Is it making me uncomfortable? Is it uplifting me? If those things aren't there, it's probably in some way not aligned with truth. Because if it's aligned with the truth of creation, it's not going to feel that way. So you can gauge the truth by or the falsity, by just being aware of your feelings. The second, truth will appear automatically when thoughts stop. Then the truth just is. Dr. Hawkins said that surrender all thoughts to God, and that is illumination. He has said in a number of his books, and he really believed this because he practiced it himself. He said the best way to raise your vibration is to surrender all thoughts to God. He did this for about a month, and he had this profound awakening experience. So that's one way to do it. You can easily feel what doesn't feel right. People come around and they're in a bad mood and they're on lower vibrations. We feel it. We feel uplifted by positive people. And so we can definitely feel our own thoughts. We feel other people's. It's time for us to learn to feel our own and be really honest about it. And step into the courage to understand, oh, that might not be right, even though I'm attached to that belief. I don't feel good, so maybe it's not right. Maybe it's not totally aligned to the truth. This is one of the guides, understanding and being aware of what your gut feeling is can guide you like almost nothing else. Mary.
These are some practical practices. The first one is to consciously focus above your belly button, because this is your gut. This is where the guidance comes from, and feel the emotion. It's either rising to your heart or it feels heavy. And that tells you or gives you an idea of the level of your vibration. And if it's heavy there, focus on your heart instead and raise that vibration up to where your spirit is. Another excellent practice that I began to develop: make your car a helicopter. We see the world, look at the world while you're driving. Most of us just drive mindlessly, or we're incessantly thinking. So drive and become aware. Feel yourself in the seat. Notice your hands on the steering wheel and consciously look out the window. Observe your surroundings as though you're hovering. Feel yourself like a foot you and your car, a foot above the ground, hovering, not really in the situation. Look out and observe the trees, the sky, the clouds, the birds, and feel yourself like them. A creation here for a time. It will automatically raise your vibration because you leave your humanness. You just kind of rise above the circumstance. Another thing is stop trying to change anyone else. That puts us automatically in a negative vibration. And the truth is, most of you know that once you stop trying to make something happen, the universe is free to take care of it for us. Give a compliment. That's a wonderful way to raise your vibration as often as you can. And I've come to the point where when I see an older woman, I'm an older woman, we need to feel good. So I tap her on the shoulder and I say, I love that outfit. That looks great on you. And the thing is, it's the truth. I don't do it if I don't feel the truth, but I look and I see all these people and I just tap them on the shoulder. That raises her vibration, which then raises my vibration. And I'm speaking the truth. I'm not just making it up. I'm speaking the truth and saying it out loud. Janice.
Just to add on to what Mary said about the older women, I'm an older one too. I've been practicing for a couple of years, imitating a teacher I once had. At that time, I wasn't ready for it, but he said, I look out and every single person is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And so I've like Mary, I've tried to, not tried, I kind of start to see this. I mean, everybody is absolutely gorgeous. And I started to do this, and I remember once in LA seeing this old beggar guy, and he smelled bad, and he obviously was an alcoholic. He was trying to get money from people who were walking by. And I stopped to give him something. There was something about his energy, and he looked me in the eye. I saw the most beautiful eyes, the most beautiful energy I'm almost ever seen. And I gave him some money. I said, please get yourself some food and not something to drink. Can you promise me? He said, I promise. Then he winked. It was a charming little moment, but he was beautiful. He was really beautiful. Here are some more ways to raise your vibration. Generosity. You can't outgive God. And here's the dynamic. The more we give, the more comes to us to give, because we start the flow, and it comes from elsewhere, and it flows and flows and flows. And it doesn't have to be tit for tat. It can be something like you've been really patient with people. You're in a job where you have to be really patient. You have to look out for their interest. You have to do that kind of thing for them. You have to take care of them. I was in a job where, as a broker, where I had to really help save their money, and I went overboard to try to get them what they needed at their lowest price, as businesses were struggling at that time. In the industry at that time, I was a specialist in the hospitality business, and I would often work overtime. And then I got into financial difficulty, and we owed $25,000 in taxes to the IRS. And I called them and I said, maybe I can work with you. And I told them the situation, so forth and so on. My husband was sick and everything. She went away for about 10 minutes. I was waiting and waiting and waiting on the phone. She came back, just forget it. Now, nobody has ever heard of the IRS just forgiving something, but that's what happened to me. So it comes back to you, whatever we do, it can come back to you. I think, Mary, you wanted to say something about this generosity thing?
There was a time in my life when I had this gut feeling that I needed to give my car to someone. And my first thought, the mind is, what do you mean? I can't give my car to someone. I have to have my car. And then I just kept feeling this, and it felt kind of good. Like, yeah, I really need to help that person. So the bottom line is I gave my car away. And there I was, situations went on, and in 2 weeks, someone randomly called me up and said, I think I'm supposed to give you my Honda. And it was like the universe worked through me. I listened to my gut. I gave my car away, an old Chevy. I gave my car away. And then the universe spoke to someone else who gave me a nice new Honda. You cannot outgive God.
No. And you can't, and one more thing, you back to my slide, you can't outforgive either. One of the things that keeps our vibration the lowest is the lack of forgiveness. And unless we forgive our people and things, we will stay in a low vibration. So this is so important. One of the things you can do is remember, do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. We have done things that we wish we could be forgiven for, or we would like to be forgiven for. We've all done things. We've all said something that hurt or whatever. We've all done it. And we would love to be forgiven. Also, try to understand the person, why they were so upset, or why the pressures on them at the time that they did whatever they did. What negativities led to their thought and actions? What possible conditioning did they have during their childhood? What brought this about? What are the potentials that did this to them, that caused them to do whatever they did? Try to remember this, and this is part of the truth of creation. Everybody is doing the best they can in any moment at all, based on their conditioning, on the pressures at hand in that moment, on what they know and they don't know, what they understand and what they don't understand. And remember, those of us who are privileged to know and have learned what we know now, what we're learning right now, are incredibly privileged, and these other people aren't. And it's our mission to not only love them, but help them and bring them up. And if we're holding resentments against another person, they are feeling, even in a distance, they are feeling those vibrations. So forgiveness is a huge thing for us to open our hearts and do it. It might take courage. Again, go above the green line and have courage to do this. And you will immediately feel better. Turn that person over to God. Turn that person over to the universe. We can do it, guys. It can happen, and we will feel so much better. Eat high vibrational foods. They will help our vibrations. I use food from the plant world that is organic, and I feel better. Eliminate alcohol and toxins. Both alcohol and toxic food lower your vibration. We can tell if we're tipsy from alcohol. We're not in control of that mind. We're not the masters, not only the mind, but our behavior. Our judgment, our perceptions contract, and things like that. Just think about it. Surround yourself with beauty. One of the great teachers I've had is another Indian guy. He insisted that God's great passion is beauty. And all we have to do is look around and see how much beauty there is, or be like that guy that thinks everybody is gorgeous. There's so much beauty around. Just surround yourself with it. Just go and look for it. It's out there. Walk in nature. Let me tell you, I can't put this at a higher place. Every one of my mystical and awakening experiences, except for one, was when I was walking in nature. Every one. There's something about nature. Nature can teach us the qualities of all creation that we read. The nature will teach us if we look and allow it to teach us. The harmony, the prosperity, the zest for living. Nature can be our best teacher. Walk in it, use it. Spend time in silence. What I do, and what has helped me calm my mind down is deep, slow breathing. The ancient Upanishads said that the breath is master of the mind. The yogis say this also. And what you do is just really slow breathing. Breathe in on a count of, say, 6 or something like that. Hold for a couple of counts, and then breathe out a little bit longer than you breathed in. It's like a sigh. It really relaxes both the body and mind, and it will help to silence the mind. And if you are lucky at moments where the mind is completely blank, you are right there in a higher vibration, a vibration of peace, which is very high. Again, another thing, do what brings you joy. Joy is an extremely high vibration. On Dr. Hawkins' schedule, it's just above love. That's high. What do you love to do? What couldn't you wait to do when you were a child? What makes you smile? dancing. What can you do? Something every day that brings you joy, and you will take a huge step to stabilize yourself at a very high vibration. Mary.
Few more practical practices. This first one is once the deep work is done. If you have deep work to do, get that out of the way. You have to understand what it is in order to release it. But once that is done, stop labeling your feelings. Labeling feelings uses the mind to create a story. So what you do is you just feel them, let them pass through. Just feel them, go, aha, there you are, and then let them pass through. That is very high vibrational work. I also have found this very productive to slightly raise my cheeks. Now, right here, just begin a smile. Nobody can even see that. As though you were going to smile, don't smile. Amazingly, that automatically makes me feel lighter, and I can hold it there. It's almost as if there were strings from these smile lines down to my heart, and when I just start that I can feel but nobody else can see, it's like raises and expands my heart area. If I actually smile, then my mind says, what the heck are you smiling about? So it's like a fake smile, and that doesn't cut it, but just slightly doing it shifts. All right, and the next one, by the way, the future doesn't exist. It is not here yet, so stop trying to plan it. Just be. Life will live itself if we get out of the way. Remember, creation is inside of us, and it just wants to live its glorious high vibration life through us, as us. So get out of the way and stop trying to plan your future. All effort is low vibe, it's stressful, and it keeps us just thinking. So just be. We are divine expressions of the creative principle. There is nothing we have to try to achieve or attract. We contain the potential for everything within us. A few more practicals. Gratitude at night. A few months ago, I began having just a little book and a pencil on my nightstand, and I wouldn't do anything big about it, but I would get in bed, I'd quick pick it up, and I'd start to think about my day. And usually we get in bed and we're thinking about the stressful thing that we have to solve. But I get in bed and I write down, I saw a beautiful bird. And I think about how beautiful that bird was, and it makes me feel happy again. I think about my friend who made me laugh. I think my back didn't hurt that much today. How awesome was that? That'll raise your vibration. And then I think about something stupid, like I loved the gluten-free cookie I found. And I think, I'm going to buy some more of those. So just simple things that will raise your vibration before you go to sleep. Don't make it a big deal, because then it's hard to do. Just write down little words. All right. The second thing, no person or thing outside of these eyeballs can change a thing. So don't look outside for the answer to change a thing. Everything changes from within us. And in the morning, before I get out of bed, I say, thank you for the wonderful things that will happen today. And I just automatically feel like, I don't know what the universe has planned. I don't know what wonderful things are going to happen today. And rather than getting up with an expectation of dread because of something, I get up excited to see what the universe is going to do that I know nothing about. And let me give you one other, is a vision board. Just write down somewhere or put pictures on it somewhere, positive words pictures of people you love, or pictures of things you want, encouragement to yourself, or just jot down a really happy time. When I want to be really, really happy, I think about the family reunions I have with my kids and grandkids and how amazing that time is and how blessed I am. So a vision board is another good idea, just in a random place. All right, Janice.
Okay, thank you. We've given you all these ideas. We've started working on ourselves. We can imagine ourselves stabilizing at a very high vibration. We've done some inner work. We've started to take some of these ideas and use them because we want to live in that higher vibrational state and be happier and more at peace and more healthier and so forth. And we've started to do these things and we've used our courage, but now we need to protect our progress, because when we're new at the higher vibrations, we're not really totally stabilized there. We can easily go down again, especially in the time we are living in now. And so here are just some ideas to protect our precious progress in this, in getting into a higher vibration. I would strongly suggest you stay away from the media as much as possible. And we need to know what's going on in the world. Is the store still open? Do I need to wear a mask? What's going on here? Can I drive here or there? Or is this store closed? Use it for very practical purposes. And don't dwell on the drama. Go into it for practical reasons. Listen to it for, oh, okay, I learned that off. And even when you look at what is being said, use your discernment. And again, what is being said, follow your gut there. Not everything is totally true. And remember, there are other possibilities always, 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 always. We don't know what's going to happen. I say to life every day, surprise me. And I mean in a good way. Surprise me. Choose your friends. Choose who you associate with. You've worked and worked and worked. You've brought your vibrations up. You're living more or less in a higher state. Fragile. It's fragile. So we don't want to be into positive thoughts and discerning thoughts and things like that. And suddenly we're listening to all this negativity. That impedes our minds. Our minds are taking this in. Don't make the mind take all that in. It's going to be fed back to you. Again, you're master of the mind. You're master of what its input is going to be. Have compassion on your mind. Find positive people that uplift you. People that are on the same journey as you are. And there are many of us out there. And very important, Mary's going to talk about this more. Don't take anything personal. It's just life living. Don't take it personally. Mary?
Right. We all want to stay in uplifting and positive vibration, but there will be people and circumstances that come into our lives that cause us to dip into a lower vibration. See this as an opportunity to release more misguided beliefs or feelings from past thoughts. And let me share what happened to me recently. I've done years of remembering and releasing, and I have just been so okay. But for the past 4 months, I have been living in extremely stressful circumstances. And all of a sudden, I had a 2-day meltdown. All I did was cry, and I couldn't stop. But when I was done, I realized it was more about feelings from past events than the present situation. So it was an opportunity for me to still see there were still some pieces, there are still some pieces of low energy and negative thoughts that are stuck in all of us. And even though we're mostly done, there's always more to do. But take heart, the more we release, the higher we keep going and the less we take things personally. When I understood why I was crying, they were just pieces of stuck energy and I was reacting to the situation I was in, I stopped reacting and became very peaceful about all of it, even though the situation has not changed. And so it's just amazing. Take those opportunities when you dip low to release some more stuff and just move on. Another big key for us, and this is huge, don't take anything personally. Look at life and things from a positive, expanded, and impersonal perspective. By not taking things personally, and remember, in reality, it's the universe living through you. There is no you. By not taking things personally, you won't go into that lower wounded victim or angry vibration. So look out at the world, not as a victim, but as an observer, almost as a scientist, and just see what's happening. Look at and see the big picture. It's all happening and it's all okay. It really is. And remember, chaos, which we are in right now, is the forerunner of transformation. We need it. People need it. They need chaos. It's the only time, if we're all happy, we never look. We never look inside when everything's great. We look inside when it's chaotic and we're hurting about the chaos. So remember, we need that. And then when you're at that higher vibration of understanding, hey, this is all for a purpose, you can look at fearful people with understanding and not judgment. You can have compassion for them. Yes, even the people who are behaving insanely out there, doing things we would never think about doing, we can have compassion and understand that they're going through something, obviously, that has to be done for the betterment of the world. That's hard to believe, but yes, it is. And then you ask, how can I help? Maybe you sit down and talk with someone who needs to be listened to. Maybe you just send somebody a card, I'm thinking of you. Or you bless a perceived enemy. So there are a lot of things, once we raise that vibration, have compassion and get out of judgment, that we can do that actually sends a higher vibration out into the situation, the universe that we wish would change. Janice.
I'm going to talk about opening to creativity and guidance in the midst of chaos, in the midst of the world we're in now. We as light workers and people that have come here to help this situation and are can do a number of things to help ourselves stay in a high vibration in the midst of what the things are going on in the world, even if they're close to us. And remember, I just want to add on to what Mary said. Science knows that chaos always precedes transformation. And it makes a whole lot of sense. Things need to break up in order to reassemble in a higher state. So with the chaos, we have some steps here. We can calm. First, we look at the chaos, something's coming. We can calm ourselves with a slow breath. We talked about that. Send love to everyone. See the big picture, as Mary said. Bring in the higher perspective to understand. Use your mind to assimilate facts and not interpretations. Open your imagination to flow. Open to solutions, alternatives, and ask for guidance. Let's take a case scenario here. Let's think about what happened in Portland when there was rioting of businesses, homes were being burned, the rioters would not let the police in, the people were being injured, some of them were killed. Let's imagine this scenario happening close to your neighborhood and coming closer. How can, in the midst of this, can we possibly stay in a higher vibration? Let's look at these steps. Calm your mind. The mind's going to go into calm down, slow breathing. It helps to calm the mind. When the mind is going like crazy, with all kinds of fears and everything, you can't think straight. You can't think creatively. You can't see the big picture. You're really contracted. As we mentioned, the low vibrations contract all your innate abilities. So we calm the mind with the breath. We send love out to everyone, all parties. Just do it. Take the courage, do it. We look, and then that calms more. We look at the big picture. What happened? What is happening? What are the facts on the ground? What is actually happening? Without interpretation, without future imagining, all of that. What is actually happening? What happened before this? Look at the causes. Look at the people. What are they doing? Look at their faces. Not with interpretation, just to see, what is it? Look at the overall picture here. Bring in your higher perspective to understand the big picture you're seeing. Ask for understanding. Why? What? Right? Don't interpret. Use your mind again to assemble the simple facts. How far are they away? How long? When will they get to it? Not, oh, that's going to happen. No, but just like you're a soldier, you're a general and conducting an army. You look at it that way, in a very practical way. Open your mind then, once you've done that, you're in your general looking at the war here in a practical way. Open your imagination. What are the solutions? Is there something that can be done here? Is there another alternative? Ask for guidance. What is mine to do? And really open. And remember, we're in a field of all potential. And what might come into our minds if we really open our heart, and what might come into us as a thought, a guidance, is that we send love. That we send all the love we can. Or there might come to us something very practical. The next door neighbor needs to be informed. I can go out and try to do something that will make the atmosphere a little bit more peaceful. I can do this, I can do that. It will come to you if you open your heart. It will come to you as to what to do. But the primary thing here is to take these steps to keep your vibration high. That's where the solutions are. That's where the guidance is. That's where the love is. That's where wisdom is. If you can do that, you can be a great force to keeping this, to actually resolving the thing. A quick story. I was working in a building once. It was over a beautiful building. It was located over a subway stop. It's one of those hub stops where a lot of other lines come in. And there was a lot of crime down there in that subway. There's some crowded people. They were being pickpocketed. Some of them were being assaulted and pushed around by these gangs. They were on the top floor of the building. There was a company that occupied the whole top floor. They decided to start a meditation group of about 13 people, 14, that would meditate every morning. Within weeks, no crime anymore. In that subway stop below the building. It took several weeks, and it stayed that way for years. So we have the power, if we're in high vibrations, to affect things like you wouldn't even believe now. I've seen it. It works. And we can do it. So, Mary, I think you're next.
Hey, that I've heard Janice say that, and that story to me is just incredible that people could get together and put that kind of energy out, and it absolutely transformed the lower energy of what was happening in that building. These are some goals. I'd like you to listen to them or look at them and decide what of these things might you want to do. I am willing to change everything and anything. That is a huge order, and that is courage. I practice listening to my gut and do what it tells me. That's big too. Start with the little things though. I am open to see where I have lived in misunderstanding. That can be humbling, but it's a very powerful step. I am agreeable to reevaluating my values and ideas. I want to know and see myself to the core. And that is deeper than we understand that we are right now. And keep asking that one. I will make raising my vibration a priority. So write down whichever ones you really want to focus on, add some of your own. Janice.
Bottom line of this talk. These are the things that we decided would be the bottom line of this whole talk. What we learned. Surrender all thoughts. That's a tall order, but that's Dr. Hawking's main thing to raise your vibration. Surrender the thoughts you can, if we can't surrender all of them, and start to doubt them. Be guided by your gut. We've both talked about this. If it doesn't feel good, it's probably not the truth. If it feels a little bit more uplifting, it's probably more aligned with truth. Your gut can be your wisdom place for sure. Be aware of your feelings. Live in the now. There's only this moment, not all your fears of the future. There is only this moment. And this moment is all we have. Live this moment to the fullest. That will raise your vibrations very high. Remember, as we talked, the universe has your back. As you go forward to raise your the vibrations, the whole of creation has your back. You're going to be coming into alignment with everything, with all the good that is in the universe. Remember, your heart is filled with love. That's what you are. Your heart is filled with love. Open it. By raising our vibrations, we can change the world. And I'm not kidding. We talked about how the lower vibrations have no power. You have to struggle and struggle. The higher vibrations are just pure power. Things just happen. And we need this right now, don't we, so much? We need the higher vibrations to come and just clear these things out. And they have the ability to do that. This is what in Dr. Hawking's research, and he had decades of research, he found out. Let's start with this one at the bottom. One individual at the level of 300, which is simply willingness and acceptance, 1 degree higher than courage, counterbalances 90 individuals below the level of 200. 90,000. What could happen if that riot came near us and we were radiating at that level? Were there more than 90,000 people in that little war? Or we could do amazing things with our hearts. One individual at the level of 400, which is reason, practicality, seeing the big picture, counterbalances 400,000 individuals. He tested this. This is the truth. And I don't know if those guys that were meditating on the top floor knew it, but they accomplished it. And then some. Here's what Dr. Hawkins says. Were it not for these counterbalances, mankind would self-destruct out of the sheer mass of unopposed negativity. The difference in power between a loving thought and a fearful thought is so enormous as to be beyond the capacity of the human mind to imagine. So we can see what we could do. Even one loving thought during the course of a day, he says, can counterbalance all the negative thoughts you had that day, just one positive one. That's how powerful we are when we are in high vibration. So here are some books that we would recommend to help you raise your vibrations. Power versus Force, we've talked about that. If you want more scientific and more other information about his studies on vibration and emotions and so forth, it's an interesting read for those who are scientifically oriented like me. But he also has a lot of case studies, like the one that I told about, the people meditating. And Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender, another book by Dr. Hawkins. It really, really helped me look within and release some of the traumas in my life. Loving What Is, for questions that can change your life. Byron Katie has such a simple technique for doubting your mind and changing your mind. It's so simple, 4 questions. And she gives a lot of examples of what happened. She has hundreds of videos you can watch that show you right there with the person up doing this work and how they changed. The Untethered Soul is a very interesting read. It's easy to read. It's an adventure story. It's a memoir of Michael Singer, a very successful businessman who decided to let go of his thoughts. He decided not to believe any of his thoughts. He decided just thoughts don't mean anything. It's not the truth. And even when it caused him to be very faithful real about the benevolence of life, the benevolence of the universe, and how everything comes about for a reason. Even bad things that were happening to him, he let them go, because over and over he saw that it would then lead to something even better for him. I think, Mary, you have a couple of them?
Yep. Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. This book is a little more intense than I usually read, but it walks us through all the components of becoming fully awake to who we are and what we can do. And it has a lot of information about how other people are raising their vibrations. And then this book, I got this book 20 years ago, and it's Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting. And I read it back then, and now I read it again recently, and I'm going, wow, I didn't even get it the first time. So this is a fun and easy to read book. The author uses a lot of humor, and she addresses the reality of how we attract too many don't want. We spend so much time thinking, I don't want this to happen. I don't want that. And, and then we try to figure out how can we stop that, etc. And she talks about how to change our thinking to attract the fullness of life. So that's a really easy read with a lot of practical stuff in it. Janice.
This is our information. If you'd like to contact us, if you have any questions, we're both spiritual counselors of a sort. And there's our emails. Feel free to contact us by email. And the New Earth Visioning Project, there is a website for those of you who are new. Again, we have a lot of information there. All the videos are also on the website. They're on our YouTube channel as well, but you can go to the website and press the watch and listen page, and you can get all the videos of all of our talks, all of our presentations. There's also a resources tab, and after our presentation, all the resources like the books and things that we've talked about go on the resources page. So there's a whole lot of information and help on the website that we have collated for you guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Mary. Thank you so much for coming in and helping out with this and offering this, all your insights and wisdom for us. Thank you, Mary.
All right. And I just want to say thank you also for allowing me to do this. It's really been a pleasure. And I can't encourage all of you enough to practice listening to your gut, develop your intuition. I am telling you, it absolutely transforms transformed my life. And if anybody wants to hear any really amazing stories, just get in touch with me. But anyway, miracles become absolutely ordinary when you begin to live from the inside and not from up here. So thank you.
Thanks again for coming. And thank you, Mary, once more for your excellent contribution. And yes, everyone, let's keep track of our feelings. That will help us know when and when not we're in alignment with all of creation and the truth of creation. Our next meeting will be on September 7th, and we will be presenting some really good news for you that will help you with your courage and confidence and uplift your vibration. Because we will be talking about what we call points of light. And we hope you will join us in this discussion. There are many people throughout the world who are working to bring in a new and better world. These include individuals and organizations dedicated to peace, environmentalism, forming communities, new freeing technologies, and so much more. Between now and next time we meet, think of some points of light that you know about and bring them to the meeting and tell us about it. We want to support these points of light with our thoughts, our encouragement, our resources, and whatever other way you can think of to support them. This should be a very uplifting meeting, and because we all are points of light, each of us. Feel free to contact me if you want to discuss the points of light you will be presenting. Come with your beautiful vibes, and we'll make them even higher. Thank you. Goodbye.